There's an element of socialization that I'm trying to explore, particularly from those places where we're marginalized. I want to know from folks, what has been your journey of resisting the negative messages that you've gotten about yourself that we've gotten? Because there are folks who are out there listening, and everybody is on a different place in that journey. And it's not necessarily indicated by age or anything, how long we stay in different places. Like age is not a factor in that. Example that I sometimes use to simplify it, or at least that makes it simple for me to start. I know it gets complicated, but one way that's like a foundational thing, I'll say Thurgood Marshall was a black man on the Supreme Court, and he lived his life in time and committed himself to working to achieve particular things that had particular results. And then I say also Clarence Thomas is a black man on the Supreme Court, and he is using his life and time to advocate for things in a completely different direction. And so when it comes to socialization, I'm really wanting to learn from people or just hear how they're navigating the ways they've been socialized about themselves, how they resisted internalized oppression. Is my own commentary, but I feel like Clarence is one of those folks where it's just, I want to be chosen and accepted so bad. I hate myself so much. I hate my blackness so much to where I am willing to then turn that hatred in the form of policy and support things that will totally close the doors that were open for me, close the doors on folks in future generations. Like I can be one of the meanest one. Will y'all choose me? Please choose me in ways that you will never truly be accepted. And so I'm wondering, what ways are we resisting that internalized oppression so that we do not then become tools of the systems that oppress us? And so that's one thing. Also from internalized superiority too. So from our privileged identities, in what ways do we realize that the world is built for us in ways that it is not built for other people? And then one, when do we learn that? And then what do we then decide to do with that information? How are we staying in it? So for people who were like, you're a white person and you understand racism as an issue, but you didn't always know that. We're talking about it right now in this single conversation. But if you want to, outside of this conversation, you don't ever have to think about this again. But for some reason, you are thinking about it. What is it that keeps you coming back? How did you get to that place? And in my interview so far, I've talked with a person who he does a lot of work in violence prevention and addressing patriarchy and white supremacy. And he talked about going from, okay, it's embarrassing for me to admit, but I was one of those white people who thought affirmative action was reverse racism and talked about, but it's important for me to share that this is where I was because people see me now. I'm doing these TED Talks, I'm doing all these things, but it's important for me to share that this is where I started. And these are some of the events that pushed me in this direction that I'm in now. Because people who are listening, there might be people who are in a similar place, and this could be something that could be helpful to them. So, socialization, I'm trying to understand.